Wow, has the day finally come? Has Kai actually spent money on a YouTube video? Well, yes, but no. If you're wondering why I bought a bunch of animation cells, let's get into the story. It all started on January 12th, 2005. On that day, a nerd was born, and his name was Jason. And there was another nerd born on that day named Kai. Fast forward many years, and I'm still a pretty big nerd. And one of those nerdy interests was the medium of animation. And through this interest, I found out what animation celluloids are. If you're unaware, an animation celluloid, or animation cell for short, is what animators would draw their frames of animation on before the age of digital animation. Basically, there's a backdrop, and to make the characters do what they do on the backdrop, they would take a clear plastic sheet and paint the character, or whatever was supposed to be moving, onto the plastic sheet. Then they'd put the cells over the backdrop and under a camera to shoot the appropriate amount of frames that cell would be used for. That would then give the illusion of animation when you put it all together. Sounds painful, right? And because I'm a nerd, let's do some calculations. Okay, so let's assume we're talking about the animation cells used for one episode of a 22-minute cartoon. And because I don't want to mention The Simpsons, let's go with, I don't know, Duckman. Yeah, I just referenced Duckman. Anyway, for the sake of simplicity, let's assume that Duckman in its entirety is animated on 2s. And if you don't know what that means, basically, most film runs at 24 frames per second, which means that you see 24 images per second. What animating on 2s means is that instead of creating a new frame of animation once every frame for 24 frames, they instead add a new frame every 2 frames, which means that most animation that's animated on 2s goes at 12 frames per second. So assuming what I said was correct, that's 12 frames per second, which is 12 new animation cells per second. Times 12 cells by 60 seconds gets you 720 cells per minute. Take 720 cells per minute and times that by 22 minutes gets you a grand total of 15,840 sheets of plastic per episode. Again though, these are very, very rough. This is like just an estimate. But just for shits and giggles, assuming that every episode actually used 15,840 sheets of plastic, let's times that by 70 episodes because that's how many episodes of Duckman there were. So if you times 15,840 cells per episode by 70 episodes, that gives you the grand total of 1,108,800 animation cells used for the entirety of Duckman's run. Roughly. That's just an estimate, remember that. Anyway, I think the point I was trying to make there was, what is a studio to do with all of those leftover animation cells? We can't just throw it in the garbage and let it go to waste, because that would make the world polluted as fuck. However, on the opposite side of the spectrum, you can't really reuse them, as there's no guarantee that the character on the cell is the right size, in the right mood, on the right angle, or any of that crap. So, the solution? Throw it in a vault. Then a few decades later, take them out and sell the cells online to a bunch of nerds who care too much. Hi, it's me, Kai. Okay, well, I don't know if that's the real solution to these things taking up valuable space in their respective studios, but it is a good second use of these things, considering they've lost all of their real worth, which is to be shown on TV for 1/12 of a second. Just sell it to a bunch of dorks. They'll gladly hang up these long, obsolete pieces of art on their wall. After all, do you really think they have a picture of their spouse or family up there? Hi, it's me, Kai. You see, that's how you absolve yourself from criticism for insulting a whole group of people. You just point out that you're in that group of people, and then it makes it all okay. It's like me insulting overweight people or stupid people. I'm also roasting myself, so I'm totally in the clear. Okay, I still haven't finished telling the story I started at the beginning of this video yet, so let's get back to that. Alright, so we know what animation cells are. Why do I want one? Well, first of all, like I alluded to earlier, or maybe not, I don't know, the script is kind of a mess. I think they're cool. I think it's neat to own a tangible piece of art that was actually used to make a cartoon in the past. Second reason, or I guess the 1.5 reason, because this is pretty closely related to the previous point, they look pretty cool to hang on your wall, or wherever. After all, these things are art, and not art in the way that anything could be considered art. I mean, they're art as in actual paintings, and because they are physical, with these you can actually see some of the techniques or shortcuts the animators used when creating this back in the day. You could literally see this piece of media from a different side. You know that quote, "Every frame a painting"? It may not be a quote, I think it's a YouTube show, I don't know, but regardless, this is a pretty good representation of that quote. Every frame is literally a painting. The third reason I want one is because they are shockingly cheap. When I first found out people were buying animation cells, I thought they were really expensive. And to be fair, some of the more popular shows and many movies have cells that go out for pretty high prices. However, after doing more research and watching this She Says video, which I highly recommend by the way, it's really good, I found out that some cells for less beloved TV shows and movies go for much cheaper. At the time I'm writing this, the website I ordered my cells from, Animation Legends, have most of their listings on sale. $25 per 5-pack. And taking into consideration the tax, shipping, and Canadian conversion rate, for the 5-pack I bought, it roughly translated to $11 a cell, which may sound expensive to you, but I used to think a single cell, no matter what it was, went for hundreds. And just because the cells on this website have less value to the general public doesn't exactly mean that these have less value to you or me. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, just in case you didn't understand a single word of the sentence I just said there. On this animation cell website, they have a listing for The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Or at least they did when I wrote this. I'm not exactly sure about when I upload this. This isn't a super popular show. I don't think in terms of animation this had the same cultural impact as The Simpsons or The Flintstones, or even other Sonic cartoons. Probably not even Duckman. I'm also not exactly sure how well loved this show is, although I doubt people would call it bad. Cybershell said it was good, and I'll take his word for it. I mean, he is the lore god of the Sonic universe. And did this fucking video before me, I haven't seen any of the episodes, although the many clips I have seen on the internet are pretty good.
Smoking's bad for you, you know.
No, it's not. Try it.
Hurry up, Dingbot! I want to try this booze!
Don't you bots know liquor is bad for you?
Try it, kid!
So, according to my amazing detective skills, these cells aren't really all that valuable, right? I mean, it's not a very popular show, it's not really that important to animation history, the show isn't really considered to be that amazing, and the only thing it really has going for it is that they're all animation cells from that one show where all the memes are from.
Snoop Dickers!
Well, let's take a look at the other side of the coin. Alright, so I really like the Sonic franchise. I also have a fondness for old cartoons. From what I've seen of the show, it's pretty funny, intentionally and unintentionally, and at the moment these things are $25 per 5-pack. So despite the inherent lack of value it might seem to have on the surface, these things, when you start really thinking about who you are, can be really great collectibles, especially if you're someone who likes to see value in useless bullshit. Now, you're probably assuming that I bought Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cells, right? I mean, I just spent 50 minutes talking about it, and it's in the thumbnail. Well, you'd actually be wrong in that assumption, because I actually bought Brave Little Toaster cells. I also bought Sonic the Hedgehog cells, but that's for later in the video, so shh. So now that I explained to you what animation cells are and why I think they're cool, now all I have to do is wait a week or two for the cells to actually come in the mail so I can finish this video. Right now, I have just placed my order for these cells. It is March 26th, so I guess I'll see you when they come in the mail. Okay, it's now April 8th. Yeah, you're seeing this video quite a bit later, and the cells have finally came, and I'm pissed off. So to comment on the packaging before we get into this, I thought they would be like in a box, but no. They came like this, which kind of looks similar to a vinyl record container. Now, that's not my complaint. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but the point I'm trying to make here is that it was shipped like this. Now, it says right on the front in a huge, bold red font, "Handle with care, do not bend." And guess what? The shitting thing was bent. You see the creases? Okay, I know these things are sheets of plastic, they're flexible, but come the hell on. This is why I mentioned how they didn't come in a box, because of this. I know I shouldn't bash Animation Legends too hard for this, but to quote what I said in my last unboxing video, do you know how many male people actually care about delivering something in pristine quality? Okay, so first of all, inside the bent package is a Ziploc bag. Contained inside this Ziploc bag is everything this package comes with. And no, fortunately for me, the bentness of the package didn't ruin the cells or anything else in this baggie. Alright, so let's open this thing up. First is the Certificate of Authenticity. I'm glad they included this in here because if they didn't, people would have probably thought I just recreated the cells perfectly to hang on my wall. In all seriousness though, this doesn't really hurt to be in here and it's still pretty cool. Alright, so let's read what it says on it. This certificate is to authenticate this original hand-painted production art from the animated series The Brave Little Toaster. This is a one-of-a-kind, authentic, original piece of art that was used in the production of this cartoon. There are no two like it in the world. And then we have a signature from the founder of Animation Legends. At least I'm 99.9% sure it's the founder of Animation Legends. Who knows, maybe it's just some random fucking janitor or something, I don't know. Next up, there's this really neat piece of paper with all my shipping info on it, which is nice, otherwise I probably would have forgotten where I live. I also have to censor it for my own protection, or else internet shitsuckers will come to my house and do unspeakable things, like stab me. How Mondo, thanks so much for including this in my package, Jacob White. Okay, so the rest of the items in this package are just cells, so let's stop beating around the bush and actually take a look at what you're waiting for. Okay, so the first animation cell of this package, and in turn the first animation cell I've ever held in my life, is this one of a monkey next to whatever the hell this is. Okay, so going back in my memory, I do remember watching The Brave Little Toaster a long time ago, and if I remember correctly, this is an electric blanket for babies, which is why it has a face. I'm too lazy to Google it though, so for all I know, this thing is just a really shitty towel. As for the monkey, yeah, I have no idea, so just give me a second. Okay, so this monkey is apparently named Sebastian. He is one of the main characters from The Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue. So this cell is probably of some value because it was in a movie. Not that I'm gonna resell this, I'm not even keeping this, but it's certainly neat to know. Also, I found the movie on Disney Plus and skimmed through it to see if I can find the scene this thing came from. I'm not watching the whole movie at normal speed, I don't feel like it.
Are you cold, Sebastian? You're shivering.
Also, this is the first time I'm holding an animation cell ever, and despite the fact that this is from a movie series I'm not very knowledgeable on, nor really give a shit about, I gotta say, this is really cool. Just being able to hold this tangible art in my hands and being able to see imperfections like the paint here being slightly see-through is pretty awesome. I'm sure over time, if I buy more animation cells, the novelty will wear off, but for now, hell yeah. And remember what I said earlier about how you can see these pieces of art from a different angle? Literally? Well, yeah, if you turn this cell around, you can actually see the paint layers used to make this thing. And also this interesting stain? I have no idea what this is. It kind of looks like paper residue, like if this thing was stuck on a piece of paper and someone had to peel it off. But there aren't any rips on my shipping form or certificate, so this has to be from the actual place of this cell's origin. Alright, so that's about all I have to say about this thing, so to squeeze some more watch time out of this video, and give you all an easier digestion of what I think of each cell, at the end of each showcase, we'll rate each cell on a scale of 1 to 4. Keep in mind that 1 doesn't mean worst cell ever, and 4 doesn't mean best cell ever. 1 just means a cell that isn't very interesting at all. This would be just like a limb or something. Basically, a 1-star cell would be what Bart Simpson got in that one episode of The Simpsons. So essentially, 1 is a cell you wouldn't want to get, and 4 is a cell you would happily want to get. And to clarify, this 1 to 4 scale isn't a critique of the art in the cell, just of the cell itself. As for this cell, I would definitely give it a 4. I would feel no shame hanging this on my wall. I mean, it has 2 characters, one of which is a main character, and they're fairly large in size, so you don't have to squint to look at anything. We're starting off pretty good here, let's see what's next. Oh no. Okay, so this cell has 3 characters, a toaster, a radio, and Lamp Boy. Okay, 1 second. Okay, yeah, the toaster's just named Toaster, and the radio's named Radio. I'm legitimately surprised I named 2 of the 3 characters on this thing correctly. The only one I missed was Lamp Boy, whose real name is Lampy. Man, I really hope the Brave Little Toaster didn't have a dedicated name department they were paying a high salary to. Or a salary to at all. Anyway, regardless, this cell has 3 main characters on it, which sounds great, but oopsie, they're super small and off to the corner there. This cell is a very noticeable downgrade from the last one. It may have 3 main characters on it, and they do look cool, or whatever, but at what cost? I would rate this cell a 2.5 out of 4. I'm just gonna go straight down the middle. Again, I'm not criticizing the art in the cell, just the cell itself. Also, I probably should have thought out this rating system a bit more, but whatever. Anyway, it's got the characters. I just think it would have been much better if we could see them without binoculars. And no, we're not out of the woods yet. Next up, we got the radio again. Only this time, it's just the radio. And this one's also super small too. For the plus sides, it is centered and it does have a main character on it. Those factors give this cell a 2 out of 4 for me. And because I don't have too much else to say about this cell, now seems like a good time to talk about these random numbers in the corner. Now, I'm not entirely knowledgeable on what these are, but from the readings I've done on the internet, here's my game theory. This letter here is the layer of the cell, and this number is the frame number for the shot. And when this specific cell was finished, they would put it in a specific cubbyhole that corresponds with a specific shot or a specific scene. Like I said earlier though, this is just my game theory, so take this with a hearty helping of salt. Also, that whole spiel got me thinking about how interesting it is that this cell's entire life was just building up to this moment. It was hand-painted, put on TV for a fraction of a second, and then put into a storage room just so that many years later some loser can buy it and put it in his YouTube video, only to end up receiving like 180 views max maybe, even though he's spent quite a lot of money on the video. To be fair though, it is kind of his fault spending a bunch of money on a couple sheets of plastic. I mean, what was he expecting? Fucking idiot. Anyway, let's move on to cell number 4. This cell is of a cat. Anyway, this is another high quality cell. It's nice and centered. I think, well, I can't really tell. Yeah, this isn't centered at all, but I mean, the size is good. Regardless though, it's high quality. I don't know who this character is though. So, okay, so this character's named Maisie. Maisie? Maisie. I'll just call her Maisie. She's another main character in the Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue, and according to this wiki article, her occupation is cat. Holy shit. Hey, looky here, I found the scene where the cell is used in. Feels good to be able to do that again. Spoilers, I won't do that again for the whole video, oops, sorry. I thought she was pulling on a door when I first saw this, but it turns out she was pulling on a power cord. Also, what's funny is that this cell appears like a minute before the one with Sebastian in the blanket. Something I also really like about this cell, and is made more evident by the clip I just showed you, is what the animators decide to draw and not to draw. I love how you can see very clearly where the animators just stopped painting the frame. And I also like how much more of the frame you can see in the cell compared to the movie. You can even see that they drew a second arm here, even though you can barely see it in the movie. And there's also this line that for some reason is only here and not on the side as well. Alright, so let's recap here. It's a main character who is very prominent on the cell. It looks cool and is drawn well. And on top of that, there's a lot to talk about. And also, you know, it's a cat. This cell is another 4 out of 4 for me, although this one is very much closer to a 3 than the monkey one. And the final cell of this package is Lamp Boy. No, I refuse to call him by his far inferior, much more shit name. Okay, so the positives of this cell. It's a main character, it's of an okay size, it looks good, and it's centered. The negatives of this cell is just a head, and literally nothing else. There isn't even that much to talk about when it comes to this thing. I mean, what else do you want me to say? It's Lamp Boy's head. I'll give this one a 2.5 as well. It's pretty close in quality to the other one I gave a 2.5. That still got a 2.5 and not a 2 because, well, it was super small and in a corner. It had 3 main characters on the frame. With this one, it's almost the opposite. It's centered and at a decent size, but it only has 1 main character on it. And even then, it's like a fraction of a main character because it's just his head. And that brings us to the end of the package. So just for diarrhea and hilarity, let's give this whole package a rating. So because I received 5 cells, and each cell would receive a rating of 4 points, this package will be rated out of 20 points. So in this package, we got 2 cells with 4 points, 2 cells with 2.5 points, and 1 cell with 2 points. So adding that all together with my epic math skills concludes that this package is a very loose and not so solid 15 out of 20. Which is indeed a passing grade and good enough to give away. Oh yeah, I should probably mention that. So if you're wondering why I bought these cells, I actually bought these because they were a present from my mother for her birthday as well as Mother's Day. Okay, so basically her birthday and Mother's Day are like 5 days apart. So my intention was that on her birthday, I would give her the frames for these cells, you know, the picture frames, and then 5 days later, I would actually give her the cells. A 2-part present, because fuck chocolate. That's another reason I took these out, by the way. I didn't just take them out to show them off for the video. I would have had to take them out anyway, because I needed to measure the dimensions. That is until I found out that Animation Legends included the dimensions in their FAQ, so... Sadly though, lockdown came back with a very heavy vengeance in my province, and I couldn't get her the frames in time, and I had nothing for Mother's Day other than a hug. Also, yes, I did in fact get a video of me giving her the cells, although it's more audio than video, because I noticed after the fact that most of the footage is just my leg.
This is like the coolest thing ever! Certificate of authenticity. Oh my goodness, there's more than one! Thank you so much! Cool. Oh, we gotta, can I keep them in the box so they're safe?
Yep. Now, the first time I bought animation cells online, it was a present. So while it was probably a huge waste of money because I could have bought something a lot cheaper, it was still a gift, and also it gave me a really cool video topic. It also totally cements my place as the favorite, just saying. However, remember earlier in the video when I said I didn't get the Sonic the Hedgehog animation cells? I lied. I wasted more money and bought more animation cells, this time from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I didn't waste as much money though, because I used a coupon code this time, and now would probably be the time I would do some sort of sponsored segment if this channel was large enough, but alas, I got nothing. I still have to wait for them to come in the mail though, and for some reason the writing process feels a lot more grueling. Especially considering Cybershell's posting pictures of his cells on Twitter. That part was written before he released his fucking cell video. Okay, so before I do another transition, I also want to say that there's another reason I got these cells. Okay, so at first, I wasn't actually going to get these. I already made my choice of getting the Brave Little Toaster cells. However, I think Animation Legends sent me a newsletter in my email, and in that newsletter, it said that the Sonic cells were almost sold out. And because I am absolutely not passing up an opportunity like this, I bought them. Anyway, I still have to wait another 2 weeks or whatever until these cells get here, so see you then. Alright, it's 16 days later. Or, sorry, I mean it's... And I finally got my second set of money wasters. Okay, so the first thing that's immediately sticking out to me is that the box for these ones are different than the box for the previous set. And what sucks about it is that I actually have to destroy the box little to get in, while with the other box, I could just close it back up. That makes me a little bit annoyed because I was gonna put these back in the box until I could get frames for these, but whatever, at least it still has the Ziploc bag. On the plus side though, this package wasn't bent. It seems like whoever delivered this package actually gave a shit. Now I was gonna go right to the cells this time and skip the additional stuff that comes in this package, but there was something that I found really odd about the certificate. So remember how in the previous package there was a certificate that had like the name of the series and this super cool speech or whatever was on it? The difference is though, the one that came with the Brave Little Toaster called the series the Brave Little Toaster. For this certificate, however, it says that the animated series is from Sonic. Yeah, just plain Sonic. Not even Sonic the Hedgehog, just Sonic. Sort of weird and confusing considering there's multiple Sonic series out there animated on cells, but what do I know? I'm not a lazy ass cell company who just apparently couldn't be bothered to type in 2 extra goddamn words. Anyway, enough bitching, let's see what I actually got in this package. Amazing. This cell alone already makes it better than the Brave Little Toaster cells. We got a frame of Tails falling on his ass in what looks to be a very painful way. Absolutely perfect. I am very proud to own this tangible art of Mr. Miles per Hour in physical pain. I love how clear it is too, because I'm assuming he's falling from somewhere and most of the cells of this scene were just smear frames. I guess I would have preferred this to be bigger or centered, but it's made up for the fact that it's Tails and he's in pain. This gives the cell a very, very close 4 out of 4 for me. Now, unfortunately for this part of the video, I can't show you where these cells originate from for a multitude of reasons. 1, because a TV show is a lot harder to skim through than a single movie. And 2, I have no idea where to find the entirety of the show without spending even more savings bonds. So sadly, you're just gonna have to use your imagination. Anyway, that cell was pretty great. Which one's next? Hey, we got another good cell. This one of Dr. Ivo and his weird pinhead. Also, you got a very small but subtle appearance of...
Dingbot!
I think his real name is Grounder, but emphasis on I think. I'm not looking it up. I don't care. Now, there isn't really that much more I could say about this without sounding like a broken record. It's another 4 out of 4 cell. What it lacks in out-of-context hilarity, it makes up in size and framing. In many ways, it's kind of the opposite of the last cell, as Warlord Julian here isn't really doing anything all that special. But the real source of conversation here comes when we turn this thing around. We can actually see what we in the business call a shit ton of paper sticking to the paint. Now, because of the 2 reasons I said earlier, I sadly cannot find out if Egghead here actually had this paper residue visible in the show or not. But regardless, it is interesting to note here. Something else that's also worth pointing out are the numbers on the bottom here. For the tail cell, it had a T following some numbers, and for this one, it has an R along with some numbers. I'm not going to give a game theory on what these numbers mean, I don't care, but I think it was cool to know anyway. Honestly, this is pretty impressive. I got 2 4-star cells so far. Is the next one gonna mess it all up? I think that is the biggest no of my life. This isn't just a 4-point cell. This is a frickin' 5-point cell. This is the hardest I've ever laughed at an animation cell in my life. which I guess isn't really something I've done too often anyway. Or ever, but regardless, this is amazing. This cell very much wins the best cell of this entire video, hands down. It's barely even a contest. Not only is this absolutely hysterical out of context, I mean, unless you somehow don't consider a robot rooster dribbling Robotnik's decapitated head like a fucking basketball funny out of context. But on top of that, the art in this cell is a decent size and is right smack in the middle of the cell. I'm serious though, I can't get over this. What am I looking at? I know I don't have any context, but how would this make sense in context? Is this the robot revolt? Did they sever the head of old Jim Carrey here to have as a prize, but at a sheer coincidence find out that his head is made of pure rubber, good enough to play the old round ball? I mean, the chicken's wearing a tank top and shorts, which he doesn't wear regularly, so I'm pretty inclined to actually believe that. From what I've seen of the show, this batshit crazy enough for this to happen, so, you know, that's what I'm going with. Okay, so what is that? 2 cells that have gotten a 4 out of 4, and 1 that gotten a 5 out of 4? This is far too good to be true. How could they screw this up? What am I, reverse jinxing myself? Okay, so I have no idea who this seal is, or whatever animal he's supposed to be, or why he's crying. So regardless, it's those factors paired with the fact that this guy is huge that makes me convinced that this package doesn't know how to give me a bad sell. I certainly think this is the most out of context you can get. If I didn't already know this was from Sonic, I wouldn't even know where to start here. Actually, no. The fact that this is from a Sonic cartoon makes this even weirder. Why exactly is there a cell of a crying seal in this collection? I'm getting more and more confused the deeper I dive into this package. As for the rating of this cell, I'd say it's another 4 out of 4. It succeeds in being interesting, funny, out of context, and is huge. So despite me not knowing who exactly this character is, it's still a great cell. I'm honestly very concerned for this character though. I want to know how he's doing. Okay, now I'm genuinely excited to see what the final cell is. This thing better not disappoint. I think I reverse jinxed myself. Also, I am very scared right now. What the hell is that thing? Okay, I don't know who exactly this is, and despite him probably having a real name, I'm just gonna call him Dr. Neryl Nimoy because that's the name I would think best fits this character. Now, unfortunately, this cell isn't perfect. Dr. Nimoy here, while he does look kind of funny and a little insane, he isn't really doing anything that would make me laugh at him for unintentional reasons, or something that would make me ask 54 different questions. On top of that, he's also not that big on the cell, although he is nice and centered. It's kind of a shame that there isn't that much to talk about when it comes to the final cell of this box and the final cell of this video, but I guess it is what it is. I'm sorry, Dr. Neryl Nimoy, but your cell is a very solid 2 out of 4 for me. Hey, it's not my fault you suck. Okay, and that's the end. And I'm so glad I ordered a second set of cells. Adding up the points, this set of cells is a freaking 19 out of 20, and that's without even having Sonic in any of them. In retrospect, however, I would have preferred if I got a cell with Sonic in it. Oh well, at least we got a cell with Tails and Robotnik, as well as this. This set of cells is the reason animation cell collecting is amazing. Every once in a while, you get a set that's a pure gold mine, and luckily for me, it happened to be the second one I got. And also the one I happened to keep. And also the one I happened to put in a YouTube video. Also, this is probably the greatest thing I've ever looked at in my entire life. Well, that was a really fun way of wasting tons of money for my subpar YouTube channel. I guess my final comment should be what I thought of the actual website I ordered these cells from, Animation Legends. Honestly, I don't exactly remember what I was expecting, but I definitely remember expecting a lot worse for the price. I was very pleasantly surprised by this whole thing. The price was great, the process of ordering everything was really painless, and I got what I wanted and more. So yeah, I would certainly recommend Animation Legends if you're in the mood to waste as much money as me on stupid useless bullshit. Anyway, in conclusion, if this video doesn't get at least more views than the Scott the Woz episode, then I'm never spending money on any of my videos ever again.